Silence is not a sign of weakness. It is the highest form of emotional strength. When you finally decide to stop explaining, stop arguing, stop trying to make someone understand your worth, you enter a level of peace that shakes everything around you. The world is noisy, filled with people who think volume equals power, who believe that the louder they talk, the more control they have. But the truth is, real control doesn't scream. It whispers through composure. When you walk away quietly, when you choose not to announce your pain or defend your dignity, you release yourself from the need to be understood by those who were never ready to understand you in the first place. That's when your silence begins to speak. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply echoes in the heart of the one who thought your voice would always be available. There is something unsettling about silence, especially when it comes from someone who used to care deeply. When you used to argue, they felt validated. When you cried, they felt powerful. When you tried to make them understand, they felt important. But when you stop, when the noise disappears, they lose their sense of control. Your silence forces them to sit with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own conscience. It becomes a haunting reminder that something has changed, and this time, it's not just a temporary mood, it's transformation. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you've realized that nothing more needs to be said. You've reached a level of peace where you no longer owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. When you walked away quietly, you broke an unspoken pattern. They were expecting your reaction. They were ready for your words, your emotions, your explanations. But your silence disrupted the script. It was the moment they realized they had lost the power to trigger you. Because when you stop reacting, you stop feeding the situation. When you stop chasing understanding, you rise above confusion. Silence becomes the wall between you and chaos. It's not about ignoring, it's about mastering your emotions to the point where you no longer let others dictate your peace. Your silence carries a vibration that cannot be ignored. It travels into the spaces you once filled with love, attention, and effort. It lingers in their mind at night when they try to sleep. It echoes through their thoughts when they scroll through memories of you. The mind remembers the sound of your voice, the tone of your care, the presence of your energy. And when it's gone, silence becomes unbearable. That's why they can't find peace. They don't miss your noise. They miss the calm that came from being in your presence. They miss the grounding energy you brought without ever asking for anything in return. You were peace disguised as a person, and they only recognized it once it was gone. Walking away quietly is not just an act of leaving, it's an act of maturity. It's understanding that no amount of talking can change someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. It's realizing that your value isn't proven by your effort, it's revealed by your absence. When you remove your energy from a situation that drains you, you restore your power. You stop leaking your spirit into spaces that never appreciated it. And once you stop giving that energy away, you start to see how powerful your silence truly is. It commands attention without demand. It commands respect without request. It teaches lessons that words could never teach. The one who took your peace for granted begins to feel the weight of what they've lost. They replay the moments when you were still there, the times you tried to connect, the chances you offered. They may even try to convince themselves they don't care, but silence is persistent. It seeps through their defenses. It becomes the sound of consequence. You see, silence doesn't need to punish. It reveals who was real and who was temporary. It reveals who valued you and who only valued what you gave them. You walked away quietly because you finally understood that peace is not found in convincing others. It's found in releasing them. It's found in accepting that your energy is sacred. You stopped engaging not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. You stopped speaking not because you had nothing to say, but because you realized your energy was better spent in silence than in repetition. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you grow stronger. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you elevate. Silence is not absence. It's transformation in motion. It's the art of walking away without needing closure, because closure comes from within. And while they search for peace in your silence, you find peace in your freedom. When you walk away, something profound happens that words can never explain. Your absence becomes the mirror they never wanted to look into. It's not your words that haunt them, it's the space you leave behind. That quiet, empty space begins to show them everything they refused to see when you were present. It reveals the truth they ignored, the effort they dismissed, the love they took for granted. Suddenly, there's no one left to absorb their energy, no one left to listen to their excuses, no one left to validate their ego. Your presence once provided comfort, even when they didn't deserve it. Now your absence forces them to confront themselves. It's no longer about what you did or didn't do. It's about who they became without your energy. When you were around, they didn't notice how much light you brought into their life because they were standing in it. You were the calm in their storm, the balance to their chaos, the understanding to their confusion. But when you walked away, the calm left too. The light dimmed. The balance vanished. Suddenly, they began to feel the void that used to be filled by your patience, your compassion, your presence. They start to see themselves without the filter of your kindness. That reflection isn't pretty. It's filled with the shadows of pride, selfishness, and regret. They begin to realize that your absence isn't just physical. It's emotional, spiritual, and energetic. The mirror of absence is a cruel but powerful teacher. It doesn't lie. It shows them how much of their peace depended on you. It exposes how much of their identity was built around your validation. They begin to remember every word you said that they brushed off, every moment they dismissed, every chance they wasted. They see how often they chose ego over love, pride over understanding, control over connection. And the haunting truth sets in. They pushed away the one person who actually brought them peace. That realization cuts deep because it's not about missing you. It's about missing who they were when you were in their life. You made them feel something they can't recreate on their own. That's why your absence hurts so much. It becomes the mirror that forces them to see what they lost and who they became without you. They can't escape it. Every place they go, every person they try to replace you with, eventually reflects the same emptiness. The mirror follows them because it's not tied to you. It's tied to what they became when they lost you. It's a reflection that whispers, you had peace and you let it go. When they look back, they remember how effortless things felt when you were there. The conversations flowed, the energy felt natural, the world seemed lighter. Now everything feels heavy. They can't figure out why, but deep down they know. It's because your presence carried a frequency they can't find elsewhere. Your absence has become the silence that speaks the truth they ran from. In your absence, they start to see the things they never appreciated. The way you listened when no one else did. The way you stayed calm even when you were hurt. The way you gave love even when it wasn't returned equally. Those small details become the loudest reminders. Regret begins to whisper louder than pride. They start to understand that your leaving wasn't impulsive. It was inevitable. You didn't walk away to punish them. You walked away to protect your peace. But in doing so, you gave them the one thing they couldn't handle: reflection. Because now, every thought of you reminds them of what they lost, not just who you were. Your absence becomes their silent teacher. It teaches them the cost of taking genuine people for granted. It teaches them that presence is not permanent, that love is not endless when it's not reciprocated. They begin to see that peace isn't found in control, it's found in appreciation. But by the time that realization comes, the mirror is already showing them a version of themselves they no longer recognize. The confident, secure person they once pretended to be starts to crumble under the weight of their own reflection. They see guilt, emptiness, and longing. They start to understand that peace cannot exist where ego rules. And while they wrestle with their own reflection, you grow quietly. Your absence gives you clarity too. You start to see how much you gave and how little you received. You start to realize that your worth was never tied to their recognition. Walking away didn't make you cold. It made you whole. Because while they stare into a mirror filled with regret, you stand before one filled with growth. They are haunted by what they lost, while you are healed by what you found within yourself. Their peace is disturbed because yours finally began. Energy is invisible, but its impact is undeniable. Every word you speak, every gesture you make, every emotion you release carries energy. When you cared, your energy was warm, nurturing, and giving. You created a space where they felt understood, admired, and safe, even when they didn't deserve it. They became accustomed to your presence. The calm tone in your voice, the reassurance in your eyes, the consistency in your attention. It became their invisible comfort zone. They didn't realize that your energy was holding them together until you took it back. When you withdraw your energy, it leaves behind a silence they can feel deep within their spirit. Suddenly, everything that once felt stable begins to feel uncertain. They start to realize that peace doesn't live in their surroundings. It lived in your presence. Energy doesn't have to be announced. You don't need to tell someone you've pulled away. They feel it long before they understand it. It's the way conversations dry up without explanation. It's the way your laughter no longer echoes in their memories. It's the way your attention no longer gravitates toward them. When you stop giving your emotional energy, they feel the void immediately. What they once dismissed as you being too emotional or you caring too much now becomes the very thing they crave. Your energy was the foundation of the connection, the unseen current that kept it alive. When that current stops flowing, everything loses its power. It's like a light suddenly being turned off in a room that had never known darkness before. They can't explain it, but they can't ignore it either. Your absence is not just physical, it's energetic. When you were present, you were feeding that connection with your thoughts, your concern, your time, your attention. You may not realize it, but energy is a form of love. It's what binds people, what gives relationships depth and emotion. But when that love is not respected, when your energy is drained instead of appreciated, the natural law of energy begins to work. Energy always seeks balance. The moment you stop giving it to someone who only took, balance is restored. They begin to feel the emptiness that was once yours. They begin to experience the restlessness you felt when you were trying to be understood. That's why they can't find peace. You took back what was never valued. You reclaimed the very force that kept them calm. When you stop feeding someone your energy, it triggers something inside them. The attention you gave used to feed their ego. The compassion you offered soothed their wounds. And the consistency you brought made them feel secure. But now that it's gone, they start to crave it like air. They replay your words, your presence, your gestures. Not because they miss you as a person at first, but because they miss the energy you carried. It was a kind of peace they couldn't produce on their own. And no matter who they talk to, no matter how many distractions they find, nothing feels the same. Because energy cannot be replicated. It's unique to the one who gives it. You see, people underestimate emotional energy because they can't see it, but they always feel its loss. When you detach, you shift your vibration. You move from giving to receiving, from explaining to observing, from reacting to understanding. This change unsettles them because your energy was the stabilizing force they relied on without ever acknowledging it. When your vibration rises, there starts to feel heavy in comparison. They sense that something has changed in you. They just can't define it. It's your calmness, your indifference, your silence. Those are all energetic signals that you've reclaimed your power. You are no longer operating at the frequency of pain, attachment, or need. And when that happens, the one who once fed off your emotional availability begins to experience the withdrawal symptoms of energetic separation. They start to feel restless. They try to reach you energetically through thoughts, memories, or even random emotions that suddenly arise for no reason. That's because energy doesn't vanish, it transforms. When you stop directing it toward them, it starts circling back to you, strengthening your spirit, healing your wounds, and protecting your peace. The same energy that once drained you now restores you. But for them, it does the opposite. They become uneasy, haunted by the same quiet they once ignored. Their soul recognizes that something pure has been lost, something genuine has been removed from their life. The balance has shifted, and they can feel it in ways words could never describe. Energy detachment is powerful because it doesn't rely on confrontation. It relies on awareness. You don't have to explain why you pulled back. You don't need to announce that you've chosen peace. The energy shift speaks for you. When you rise in vibration, when you protect your inner world, everything that's not aligned with it begins to crumble. That's why your silence disturbs them. Your energy no longer matches theirs. You have moved beyond needing to be understood. You have entered a realm where peace becomes your priority. They feel that shift. They can't touch it, can't stop it, and can't ignore it. It's the law of energy responding to imbalance. You gave too much, and now the universe is returning what's yours. And as you grow lighter, they grow heavier. Not because you took something from them, but because they never learned how to create peace within themselves. Detachment is one of the highest forms of strength a person can ever master. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't come from pretending you don't care. It comes from reaching a place within yourself where you finally understand that peace is more valuable than attention. Walking away quietly isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the understanding that your energy is sacred and not every situation or person deserves access to it. People often confuse detachment with indifference, but they are not the same. Indifference means you feel nothing. Detachment means you feel deeply, but you refuse to let those feelings control you. It's the art of letting go without resentment, of choosing inner calm over outer chaos, of realizing that your emotions are yours to master, not to surrender. When you finally detach, you no longer need to win arguments or prove your worth. You stop explaining your intentions to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. You stop chasing validation and start valuing silence. That shift in your energy unsettles those who once had power over your emotions. They don't understand how you became so calm, so unbothered, so unreachable. It's because you've learned that reacting is draining, but observing is empowering. You can see their behavior clearly now without being emotionally attached to the outcome. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself enough to stop being consumed by what doesn't deserve you. Walking away quietly requires emotional discipline. It means holding your tongue when you could speak, maintaining your peace when you could fight, and staying composed when you could break. It's strength disguised as silence. It's knowing that no reaction is the most powerful reaction. When you detach, you no longer depend on others for emotional balance. You stop allowing their moods, their approval, or their attention to dictate your self-worth. That's when you truly take your power back. Detachment is not an escape from love. It's the purest form of love you can give yourself. It's saying, I choose peace, even if that means choosing distance. People who are emotionally attached to chaos will always try to pull you back in when they feel you slipping away. They thrive on reaction because your reaction gives them validation. But when you respond with silence, they lose control. They can't manipulate your peace anymore because your energy has shifted. Detachment removes their access to your emotions, and without that access, they lose the ability to affect your world. They begin to wonder why you don't respond the way you used to, why their words no longer break you, why their absence no longer hurts. It's because you've replaced attachment with awareness. You've realized that holding on doesn't heal, it drains. Detachment is freedom, but it's not the kind of freedom that comes with distance. It's the kind that comes from acceptance. You stop expecting people to be who you want them to be, and you start seeing them for who they are. You stop expecting situations to unfold according to your emotions, and you start letting life flow naturally. The moment you accept things as they are, you become untouchable. No disappointment can destroy you, no rejection can define you, and no loss can control you. You've learned that your happiness is an inside job. It doesn't depend on anyone staying or leaving. This level of detachment makes you magnetic. People are drawn to those who are not easily shaken because true strength radiates through calmness. The beauty of detachment is that it doesn't close your heart. It protects it. You still love, but you love wisely. You still care, but you care without losing yourself. You can be deeply connected and yet emotionally balanced. That balance is what most people lack, and when they see it in you, it confuses them. They mistake your peace for pride, your distance for coldness, your silence for weakness, but in reality, you've just learned how to protect your spirit. Detachment teaches you that love doesn't have to hurt, peace doesn't require approval, and self-respect is not negotiable. When you walk away quietly, you're sending a silent message that says, I've outgrown the need to prove myself. You've realized that not every battle deserves your energy. You've accepted that some people understand only chaos, and you've chosen to no longer participate. That is mastery. When you can stand in front of something that once broke you and feel nothing but calm. When you can hear the same words that once triggered you and respond with silence. When you can remember the pain without reliving it. That's the power of detachment. It transforms pain into wisdom, weakness into strength, and endings into freedom. You begin to notice that life flows easier when you let go. You stop forcing connections that no longer fit. You stop clinging to people who don't respect your presence. You stop chasing explanations from those who refuse to listen. You begin to move differently. You speak less, observe more, and trust yourself deeply. Your focus shifts inward to your growth, your healing, your peace. That's when you become powerful without effort. You no longer need to prove your value because your energy does it for you. You no longer seek attention because you've learned that solitude can be more fulfilling than validation. Detachment is the quiet revolution that takes place within when you stop trying to control everything around you and start mastering everything within you. The law of consequence is not man-made, it's a universal truth woven into the fabric of life. Every action, every word, every intention carries energy, and that energy always comes back, whether through peace or through pain. When you walk away quietly and choose not to retaliate, you are not being passive. You are allowing the natural law of balance to take its course. The energy someone sends into your life, whether good or bad, eventually circles back to them. That is why you never need to seek revenge or validation. The same peace they disturbed in you becomes the same peace that escapes them. Life has a way of showing people exactly what they've done, not through punishment, but through reflection. When you walk away with peace, you walk away with power, and the one who once disrupted your spirit will eventually feel the weight of their own actions in silence. When someone mistreats you, they often believe they've won simply because you didn't fight back. They mistake your calmness for weakness, your silence for surrender. But what they fail to understand is that by walking away peacefully, you've transferred the burden of conscience back to them. Your silence plants a seed in their mind that grows slowly but relentlessly, a seed of awareness, regret, and restlessness. Time becomes the greatest teacher. At first, they might feel relieved or even triumphant, but peace doesn't stay with those who disturb it. Sooner or later, the reality of what they lost begins to sink in. They start to feel what you once felt: confusion, emptiness, and longing. The same energy they projected onto you becomes their own mirror. That's the law of consequence at work. This law doesn't require your participation. It simply unfolds naturally. You see, when you retaliate or try to make someone feel your pain, you lower your own energy. You step out of alignment with peace and step into the same chaos that hurt you. But when you stay calm, when you choose silence and walk away without bitterness, you remain in alignment with truth. Life takes care of the rest. The energy they once sent out begins to return to them in unexpected ways. Through sleepless nights, through failed relationships, through inner conflict that no amount of distraction can silence. It's not your responsibility to witness it, but it will happen. Every choice carries a vibration, and eventually, everything vibrates back to its source. Walking away peacefully does not mean you are indifferent. It means you've matured enough to understand that justice doesn't always come through confrontation. Sometimes it comes through distance. By removing yourself from the situation, you've created space for consequence to do its work. Life has perfect timing. It might not respond immediately, but it never forgets. There comes a moment when the one who hurt you starts to experience the same emptiness they caused. The absence of your energy begins to echo in their mind. They try to fill the silence with noise, but peace doesn't return easily to those who take it from others. The same restlessness they once planted in you becomes their reality. They learn the hard way that peace is not something you steal, it's something you earn. Every relationship, every interaction is an exchange of energy. When you offer love, patience, and understanding, and it is met with neglect or cruelty, that imbalance doesn't go unnoticed by the universe. The one who gave is refined, purified by pain. The one who took is burdened, weighed down by guilt and loss. That's how balance restores itself. You can't destroy energy. You can only redirect it. When you walk away, you're redirecting all that energy back to its rightful owner. You're saying, I no longer carry what isn't mine. And life responds by lifting the heaviness from your spirit and transferring it back where it belongs. That's why the one who once felt powerful begins to feel uneasy, while you start to feel lighter, freer, and more centered. The beauty of consequence is that it works silently. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need witnesses. It operates in moments of solitude, in nights when the heart grows restless, in situations that mirror past choices. Suddenly, the one who once dismissed your worth encounters someone who treats them the same way they treated you. They begin to understand your silence in a language only experience can teach. That's the universe balancing the scales, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. Every soul must face the energy it creates. That's how growth happens. That's how awareness is born. When you choose peace over revenge, you're not letting them get away with what they did. You're letting yourself get away from the weight of it. You're no longer carrying the heaviness of trying to make them see, trying to make them feel, trying to make them understand. You've handed that responsibility over to life itself. And life always delivers. Maybe not in the way you expect, but always in the way they need to learn. The moment you release resentment, you free yourself from the cycle of reaction while they remain trapped in the cycle of consequence. That's why people who hurt others can't find peace. They are haunted by the energy they've created. It follows them not as punishment, but as an invitation to change. The law of consequence also protects you from becoming what hurt you. It teaches you patience, empathy, and restraint. It allows you to stand tall, knowing that truth doesn't need defense. You learn that your silence doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've won without lowering your vibration. Life doesn't forget those who choose peace in the face of chaos. The moment you let go, you align yourself with something higher, and that alignment becomes your protection. It keeps you steady while others wrestle with the results of their own actions. And while they search for peace that keeps slipping through their fingers, you begin to live in the calm you once prayed for, untouched, unbothered, and finally free. Peace is the highest form of wealth a human being can possess. It cannot be bought. It cannot be borrowed, and it cannot be given. It must be created within. When you walk away and carry your peace with you, you carry something far more valuable than pride or victory. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the ability to remain centered despite them. It's that quiet state where your spirit no longer reacts to every disturbance, where you no longer chase validation, where you finally learn that your calm is your crown. When you take back your peace, you reclaim your identity. You no longer define yourself by who hurt you or what you lost. You define yourself by the strength it took to let go. That's why peace is the final word. It closes every chapter that chaos tried to prolong. People often mistake peace for passivity, but peace is powerful. It is the stillness that disarms confusion, the silence that dismantles manipulation, and the calm that confuses those who thrive on reaction. When someone tries to disturb your energy and finds you unshaken, it exposes their own instability. Your peace becomes their mirror, showing them what they can't control anymore. They start to realize that the version of you they once knew, the reactive, emotional, giving version, is gone. What remains is a person who understands the value of inner stability more than external connection. Peace becomes your shield, your language, your boundary. It doesn't shout, it doesn't prove, it simply exists. And in its existence, it commands respect. When you walk away peacefully, you create silence around yourself. And that silence is not empty, it's sacred. It's where your healing takes place, where your strength returns, where your clarity begins to grow. You no longer need noise to feel alive. You find life in stillness. Peace allows you to see things clearly without the fog of anger or attachment. It allows you to make decisions from wisdom, not emotion. It's in that space of calm that you finally understand why certain things had to end, why certain people had to leave, and why the struggle was necessary. Every storm that once shook you was preparing you for this moment of quiet authority. The same calm they mistook for indifference is actually your evolution in motion. Peace is not something you wait for. It's something you decide to protect. It's a daily choice. To not respond to every provocation, to not fight every battle, to not explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You learn to let things be. You stop trying to fix what's not yours to fix. You stop trying to change people who are content with chaos. You understand that peace doesn't mean being surrounded by perfection. It means remaining calm in the presence of imperfection. When you hold that kind of peace, no one can shake you. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves access to your calm because your peace is sacred territory. It took pain, growth, and patience to build it. The person who once took your peace for granted will eventually learn that lesson the hard way. They will seek peace in places where it doesn't exist. They will try to fill the emptiness your presence once soothed. But peace doesn't visit those who destroy it. Peace withdraws itself from chaos. It refuses to coexist with manipulation, disrespect, or instability. That's why your absence disturbs them more than your words ever could. They thought walking away quietly meant you were weak, but now they realize it meant you were wise. You understood that no one wins by disturbing their own inner balance. You understood that peace is not found in control, it's found in surrender. When peace becomes your focus, you stop participating in emotional wars. You stop explaining why you walked away. You stop needing others to understand your silence. You realize that peace doesn't need to be justified. It just is. You begin to notice that the less you react, the more powerful you become. People start to sense your strength, not because you're loud, but because you're composed. That calm presence carries weight. It influences without effort. It speaks without sound. That's what true peace does. It transforms you into someone who no longer seeks to prove, but simply to be. Peace changes how you see yourself. It reconnects you with your inner world, the part of you that knows when to hold on and when to let go. You begin to feel light, almost untouchable, because you've detached from the things that once owned your emotions. You realize that peace doesn't come from others apologizing. It comes from you forgiving. It doesn't come from life being easy. It comes from you being steady. It's a spiritual posture, a vibration that lifts you above negativity. When you embody that peace, you no longer chase love or acceptance. You attract it. You no longer fear endings, you trust them. You no longer resist silence. You find wisdom in it. Peace is the final word because it restores your power. When you choose peace over reaction, over revenge, over noise, you align yourself with strength that cannot be seen but can always be felt. It becomes your quiet rebellion against a world that thrives on distraction and drama. You stop needing to win arguments and you start winning at life. Your peace becomes your statement. It tells the world that you have mastered yourself. It tells the one who lost you that your calm is not a weakness. It's the evidence of your evolution. It tells every situation that once shook you that you are no longer the same. You've become grounded, focused, whole. And that wholeness radiates from within, touching everything around you without effort. Peace becomes your foundation, your identity, your silent answer to everything that once tried to destroy you.